message that I've delivered in my private meetings with various political party leaders, with the members of the quartet, with the members of the Tunisian government, is the same one that I've discussed here today, which is our support for the democratic transition and our urging that Tunisia continue to move forward on this process and complete the remaining steps that have been identified by Tunisians as important for this transition. And they are the formation of an independent government to run the country until there can be elections. Second, the finalization of the Constitution. And third, setting a date for free and fair elections that will happen at an early time. There was a lot of economic assistance that was provided in the early years after the revolution. I think the number is approximately $350 million in support from the United States since the revolution in 2011. In terms of the future, as I said, it will depend on how Tunisia continues on this democratic path. If Tunisia stays on the same path, then I think you can expect that the United States will continue to support Tunisia and provide support in the economic area as well. So it's important, again, as I said, that Tunisia stays on this path. I will say that Tunisia faces a number of challenges. We talked about the political challenges. Those are issues for Tunisian people to decide. But Tunisia also faces economic challenges and security challenges. And in those two latter areas, on the economy and on security, Tunisia's friends around the world, including the United States, can provide support and can provide help. We have done that, as I said, in the early period after the revolution, primarily in terms of economic support, and we've provided approximately $350 million in economic support since the revolution. In the past year, we've been focusing a little bit more on security, and we've been increasing our support for Tunisia in fighting this battle against terrorism. We've had for many decades a relationship between the U.S. military and the Tunisian military, and that is continuing, and we're looking to shift that more to this fight against terrorism, which affects Tunisia and the United States as well. At the same time, in the past year, we've begun to develop a relationship between the United States and the Tunisian security forces within the Ministry of Interior, and this is something we had not done before. Obviously, under the previous regime, those Ministry of Interior forces were part of the repression of the dictatorship, and we did not want to be associated with that. Since the revolution, we've begun to work with them. We're now trying to develop assistance programs with the Tunisian security forces in the Ministry of Interior. Participation in the political process, I think, is dependent on one essential factor, which is a willingness of a party to participate in a democratic process and not to engage in any violence or other activities that are inconsistent with democracy. That's a principle that we would apply around the world, and I think it makes sense here in Tunisia as well. How that principle is applied here in Tunisia is an issue for Tunisians to decide. It's not for us to decide. As I said, there are many parties around the world that criticize the United States. That's not unique to this one party or this country. It's important also, in regard to any economic support that we provide, that Tunisia continue to abide by its other obligations, including the obligations it has to the International Monetary Fund, the other international financial institutions like the World Bank and the African Development Bank. We were concerned to read the most recent report from the International Monetary Fund that suggested that Tunisia is not fully meeting all of the objectives that were set as part of its agreement with the International Monetary Fund. It's important that Tunisia do so, and certainly in evaluating any request for bilateral assistance from the United States for budget support or loan guarantees, we would certainly want to see that Tunisia remains current with the objectives that were worked out in agreement with the IMF. I'm not aware of any agreement between the United States and Tunisia about training Libyans. What is underway at the moment is an effort by the United States and some of our partners within NATO to begin training a general purpose force for Libya within the Libyan army to help improve the Libyan army's capabilities. That's an effort that will begin sometime in 2014. We have briefed the Tunisian government about that, and we've invited them to participate in that if they're interested. That's something that they're considering. We believe that there continues to be a threat here in Tunisia from groups affiliated with Al-Qaeda, including Ansar Sharia Tunisia. They've been responsible for a lot of the terrorist attacks that have taken place over the past year. We believe that they continue to plan to try to carry out additional terrorist operations here in Tunisia. As I said, over the past several months, the Tunisian government, the Tunisian security forces have done a much better job countering this threat. But the fact of the matter is that this group and its affiliates remain a threat, primarily to Tunisian targets, but also to foreign targets as well. The groups that emerge there, Al-Qaeda in particular, are hostile to the United States. They're responsible for the attacks on 9/11 and many other attacks against the United States and many other countries around the world. And particularly since the attacks on 9/11, the United States is engaged in a global effort to try to prevent Al-Qaeda and its affiliates from carrying out attacks. We work closely with a number of countries around the globe in this. It's not a fight that we can do on our own. We need to work together with others. And frankly, the threat posed by groups like Al-Qaeda is not directed solely at the United States. It's directed at the entire civilized world. And we have achieved considerable success, I think, since 2001 in this effort. Obviously, there's a lot more that we need to do, and we will continue to work with our partners, including Tunisia, to ensure that groups like Al-Qaeda and Ansar Sharia are not able to carry out attacks. We support no particular political party here in Tunisia. We don't support any particular individuals, any individual politicians. That means we also don't oppose any particular political party, and we don't oppose any particular individuals. What's important to us are the principles of democracy. These are, as I referred to before, universal values: respect for women, respect for minorities, respect for freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of assembly. Those are the things that are important to us. Those are the things that we're watching for. As long as political parties adhere to those principles and support those principles in the Constitution and are prepared to engage in free and fair elections in which the Tunisian people will decide Tunisia's future, those are the things that are important to us, not the particular ideology of any particular party. We will be guided in terms of how parties and the society at large respect universal rights, and whether they agree to participate in a democratic process, and whether they agree to ensure that those rights are respected in the Constitution and that free and fair elections can happen. I won't discuss the entire region, but I'll just refer to Tunisia. The revolution that took place in Tunisia was started by the Tunisians. It succeeded thanks to the sacrifices of the Tunisian people. We support what's happened, and President Obama made that clear from the very beginning that we'll stand by the Tunisian people as they're on the road to democracy, and we hope that they will achieve their aspirations of democracy here in Tunisia very soon. The primary focus of what we're doing with our partners, and this is the P5+1, what we're trying to do with Iran is to deal with the nuclear problem. But beyond that, we're looking to see whether it's possible to develop a new relationship with Iran, where Iran will be a responsible part play a responsible role within the region, and that in fact could include other areas where where Iran has been involved in activities that have not been conducive to regional peace and stability, including in Syria, including its support for radical Palestinian groups and other things. It remains to be seen whether this is going to work. The initial framework agreement that the P5+1 reached with Iran deals with the nuclear file. It's an interim agreement that will last for 6 months and will require action on the part of the Iranians to implement that agreement. And we're going to be watching very closely to see that it is implemented. Hopefully, if it is, that will provide a basis on which we can begin to look at some of the larger questions to finally resolve the nuclear case once and for all, but also to deal with some of these regional challenges as well.